Welcome in to another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Doing well. Trying to avoid the heat. It is beautiful. At least I'm down in Florida, and I know Michigan's got just as hot of a weather up there. But I think you guys have a little bit more rain going on, don't you?
Yeah, we had some rain, and some more is projected over the coming days. How warm is it in Florida currently?
I believe it was 92 with a feels like of like 98 or something.
Well, we're nipping on your heels. We were in the low 90s yesterday, high 80s today, and it feels like it's like in the 100, like near 100. So
Yeah, we got out, and I was outside maybe 15 minutes, and I'm like, I feel like I just got out of a swimming pool and forgot to dry off.
Florida. It's just that humid.
Yeah, we've had some rain the last couple of days too, which I'm sure did not help. But it's beautiful, and I've already been approached by a bunch of Lions fans. They saw the little logo on the back of my vehicle. And then the house that we bought, we're selling the appliances that were here. We got new appliances, and somebody that bought the washer was actually from Sturgis, Michigan, and is a Lions fan. And I'm like, small world. Apparently, there's a Lions football group here in the Villages, so a lot of snowbirds. Sure. So pretty cool. Brian, I'm here. An entire audience, the singular form of audience. Appreciate you, Brian.
He's carrying us. I'm actually there's a new, I don't know, Brian, does the show look different to you? It looks different to me. I am watching our show on YouTube whilst I am doing the show, and it looks a little different, and there's also a massive delay. My Bandcamp came up with the term. Nice.
Love it.
So I've been an audience to a couple of people in my time. So some of my
I had an audience. Yes, last Tuesday I had an audience. Only when I got lucky. So
you get it.
So what do we got going on? What's going on in the NFL news and notes wise?
Not much. It is a time of year that hashtag not a lot is going on. If you wanted to talk about the NBA, then we would have things to talk about. I'm doing a quick scan right now. Aaron Rodgers did say that he feels this will be his last year. Thank God. I'm pretty excited about him not being in the NFL anymore and just being like a reclusive, crazy person. He apparently got married, which who knows if that's real. And then the only other thing that I think is noteworthy is that Travis Hunter signed his rookie deal.
So
4 years, $46.65 million. Here's the thing that matters. Just over 30 million of that 46 is 100% guaranteed. And the Jags then also tweeted out that he signed, and they sent out two tweets. One where he was listed as a wide receiver, and one where he was listed as a defensive back. So
yeah, and I believe he signed for the most amount of guarantee, like 100, like the maximum amount of guaranteed money that is allowable under the CBA, and he is the first person to get the maximum amount and all have it be guaranteed. So
yeah, so
hey, if you've got the cap room, that's the right to do it, right? Like if you got the cap room, give it all to him now. Spread that out a little bit lower of actual salary in future years.
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way: you're getting him 4 years, $30 million. What are we talking about? I mean, it's 9 something a year, right? No,
8.5.
8.5. 8.5 a year for him.
Near pittance to what his second contract's going to be.
It's completely crazy. So right now, there are 2 unsigned first-round picks: Jahdae Barron for the Broncos and Shamar Stewart for the Cincinnati Bengals. And he has left camp. He has left mandatory minicamp. I mean, like, the thing about his situation is weird, is that a year ago, prior to this draft, Cincinnati gave the kinds of guarantees that he is asking for to their first round pick. And this year, inexplicably, they won't.
Yeah.
So, and like we just said, that giving the number 4 overall pick completely guaranteed money is a pittance 100%. Of what you're going to get. And Stewart is the 17th pick in the draft. It's lots less. And they won't budge. I don't understand it. Understand.
I mean, if we had our buddy John on here, he would talk about how the Bengals front office has, there's a reason they've been called the Bungles, right? Their front office and their ownership has been very similar to the historical Lions front office and ownership. Just a dumpster fire when it comes to strategy and execution. And I think this is just another example of that. I'm just not understanding how to properly run an NFL team. Like there are hills to die on, and there are hills to not die on. This is not a hill to die on, right?
So here, I kind of firmly, tell me where you come down on this, man. I kind of firmly believe that, let's call this the Myles Garrett syndrome. So Myles Garrett goes into this last offseason and he's like, I want to be traded. I want out. I want a chance to win, right? Mm-hmm. And it goes on for a while and everyone's speculating who could get him.
Right.
So it turns out that Cleveland announces that, like, hey, we've re-signed Myles Garrett to this massive contract. He's now the highest paid non-quarterback in history for 10 minutes or whatever. And they said in that press release, I believe, that they had convinced him they were going to solve the quarterback issue. And then they go to the draft, and they draft Dylan Gabriel from Oregon and Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. They have Kenny Pickett on their roster and one other guy who I cannot remember who it is. And I don't know that it matters. Is it Flacco? I don't know. Somebody like that, though. And so Myles Garrett says, they've convinced me. Damn it. They've convinced me. You know?
I was trying to respond and I was muted and didn't realize.
Oh, I'm so sorry. What'd you say?
No, I was going to say, yes, I believe it is Flacco. I could be wrong, but I think it is. I was just agreeing with you and it wouldn't even let me.
I knew that the universe is keeping us apart, but we won't let it. And I think he just signed because they're giving him $40 million a year, right? Okay. Yeah. So unless you're going to get that kind of money, unprecedented money from a team, do you think that when I firmly believe that Shamar Stewart's going to play for the Bengals? There is some provision, I suppose, I've heard about in the CBA where he can walk back into the draft next year, but he has to sit out a year. Yeah. Because he hasn't signed his contract. Like, the Bengals have his rights, but like he hasn't signed the contract. I don't know what the provision is. I've just heard that there is a chance that he could go back and get drafted next season, but then he has to sit out a year. And I'm like, hasn't he already sat out a year? I mean, you're gonna make him sit out 2 years? Like, I know it's technically his choice, I guess, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, would you resign?
He'll play.
Oh,
It's
he'll
just
play.
a matter of them getting things figured out.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're somebody playing for the Cincinnati Bengals, doesn't this make you go, this just seems like a lot of work in order to play in Ohio, like.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, whether it's how they're dealing with agents or what. I mean, like, whether this, I mean, like, I had a member of my family, a man married one of my grandmothers, and his whole thing was he couldn't lose a deal, whether it was you playing for like pieces of candy at cards, like on a camping trip, or if he was involved in some kind of real estate deal. Like, he couldn't lose. Like, he had to feel as though he'd won. And I'm just wondering if the people making the financial decisions in Cincinnati are just those kinds of people.
I think that everything that they end up doing is bass backward. Like, not the word incompetent is very strong, and
Sure.
I certainly couldn't do anything better. But I also feel like maybe I could. Like, to me, there are certain things that I'm just like, literally anybody would avoid this particular situation. Now, there's probably a ton of things that they're doing right that I would totally do wrong. But I feel like this is one of those obvious ones that I'm like, even I'd get this one right. Like, I'm not sure if do we give them the benefit of the doubt that there's other harder decisions that they're doing well when they seem to be bungling the most obvious ones.
I just don't. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it is such a little thing to like give in on.
Yeah.
That it just seems crazy. Anyways.
Yeah.
I'm sure that
are you just hurting your culture more than you are saving money or whatever? Like, is this a net negative? Almost assuredly.
Yeah, almost assuredly. Yes. So, want to say congratulations to Sam Laporta, who got married and then went to the Vatican and met the Pope.
That's cool.
Congrats. That's not a lot of people get to meet the Pope. That's really cool. I didn't know that he was Catholic. Doesn't matter. His faith is, something for him. But I think it's great that he got married. Congratulations, Sam. Pretty excited about that. And outside of that, Mike, I don't know that there's much, quote unquote. I mean, Tom Brady won something called the Fanatics Games, but he doesn't play in the NFL anymore, so I don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another $1 million too. Like, he won $1 million, and I'm like, does Tom Brady need $1 million to what amounts to a socially drama-fueled event? I don't even know what it is, to be honest. I'm just guessing, but it seems like something he'd want to take part in. So
it seems like it's basically just a almost like a fan fest type of thing. And the question is, how is that kind of thing worth $1 million? Those are the kind of things I just don't understand that. What happened to? I had a window. There we go. See if I can share it. There was over here. So weird. It's not letting me share it. I figured what we would do. There's a couple things I wanted to get your take on.
Yeah, love these.
PFF has its top 10 returning head coaches rankings, and NFL.com has a ranking of each division by quarterback heading into the new year. So let's take the first one. See if we can share that. Add to stage. All right. So the top 10 returning NFL head coaches entering 2025. And I will try to scroll slowly so we don't do too many. It's not going to be a big surprise. I think most everybody has Andy Reid at number one. Do you any thoughts on that? Is that who you would have as your number one head coach in the NFL?
I'm having a hard time coming up with someone other than Bill Belichick that I think is in Andy Reid's. I mean, Bill Belichick is arguably the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. It's certainly debatable, but I think he's probably in the conversation. I think Andy Reid should be there as well, especially given his run with the fact that he has I believe he won a championship with did he not win a championship with the Falcons, with the Eagles?
I don't think he did. I don't think he won with the Eagles. I think he got them there. That was the year Donovan McNabb got there, and then they lost. I think his first championship was in Kansas City, but he's got 3 of them. He's been to the Super Bowl 5 times, I think.
Sounds right. Like that. Those are good numbers, and the fact that he is still active, I don't think there's anybody on that level in coaching in the NFL right now. So yeah, I think Andy Reid is a really safe pick for number 1 overall.
Yeah. Well, and these are returning head coaches, so Belichick is not on that list. Would be I'd be curious if he was coming back, whether he would be number 1 or Andy Reid. But I think Andy Reid, at least in my book, is that number 1. Who would you have at number 2, or do you just want me to go through and then we could talk about each one?
Let's just go through. I have a less. I mean, I think it'll be more fun.
Okay. All right. So number 2. Sean Payton, Denver Broncos.
I disagree.
Same. I'm not a big Payton fan.
Neither am I. And so, like, in my opinion, what Sean Payton did in Denver last year is noteworthy because they were, quote unquote, not very good. They were a bottom quarter of the NFL team 2 years ago. They're still coming off of the Russell Wilson debacle, that kind of thing, and like we're trying to get ourselves. And they had just like, oh, okay, we took the 5th quarterback in that year's class. And, did they take him too high? But then Sean Payton is our coach. And like now he's trying to go out and get the quote unquote his guys, right? Like he is a coach that has a very specific type of player in very specific roles. And so like, I think that what he did last year with Bo Nix is noteworthy. However, like I need you to do something,
And part of me is like, you had Russell Wilson, who a lot of people peg as a Hall of Famer. I've never thought he was that quality, but he's got 2 Super Bowl rings. And that means more than a lot of things. Same reason why Eli Manning's going to get in there, right?
I don't think he has 2 rings.
I believe Seattle won.
I believe he has.
Oh no, he has 1.
He has 1 ring.
He has 1 ring with Drew Brees. That's right. You're right. So he's got. No. I'm sorry. No, Russell Wilson has 2 rings in Seattle. I'm pretty sure.
I will look it up while you give us your thoughts.
Excellent. Yeah. So my thought is, you've got a guy that a lot of people peg to be a Hall of Famer. I've always thought he was a little bit overrated, and it was really more about the defense and what he brought to the table. But as you and I both know, quarterbacks are graded, and their legacy is it 1?
2014.
So he's got 1, and then they would have had a second one if they would have just run Marshawn Lynch from the 1 yard line.
That is the. There you go.
1.97.
Should have had 2
rings.
Right?
Yeah, 1.97 rings.
Inexplicable. So,
but like, so you've got this guy that was a 2-yard Marshawn Lynch run from 2 rings and a potential Hall of Famer, and he comes to you and you can't do anything with that, and you have to ditch him. Like, I don't know. Like, I would think that a high-end coach could take a Hall of Fame talent and do something with that, right? So I'm not sure. I'm not a huge Sean Payton fan. He did great last year with Bo Nix, for sure, like you said. But I wouldn't put him up at 2.
No, I would not either. I think that he is a good coach.
I'd put him in the top 10.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I don't know where I would have him. Maybe we could figure that out at some point.
All right. So after Sean Payton.
Which word, Brian? Okay.
After Sean Payton, we have Sean McVay.
Sure. I guess I guess I don't know. Like, he's a good coach. I think you think more highly of him than I do. I think the thing that makes Sean McVay such a interesting guy to talk about, inexplicable, but in the inconceivable. Yeah, that guy is great. Good call, Brian. Princess Bride references are awesome. The thing that gets mentioned the most to me, the two things that get mentioned, I hear the most about Sean McVay is he is an offensive genius, and look at the tree that he came from, and then it always goes back to that
one that he built too, right?
Well, I mean, like, and that's the thing is that, like, he was with a bunch of people in Washington when he was like the tight ends coach on Mike Shanahan. Thank you, Mike Shanahan's staff, right? And then he gets the Rams job, and then some of those guys come with him, and then those guys have now gone off and been
guys that have turned into head coaches,
right? So I mean, like, so.
He's a very good leader, and I think he gets his team to buy in. A lot like Dan Campbell, right? Dan Campbell came in and got his team to buy into his vision and to follow him wherever Dan wants to go. And I think McVay does the same thing with his guys, and not just his players, but he builds leaders. I think something like 4 of his coordinators have been moved to head coaches in the last 5 years or something. So he is definitely like building a culture and building leadership throughout the organization. Unfortunately, they keep leaving because they're good enough and people want them. But yeah, he's in my top 3 as well. I really respect what he does and the way he does it as a leader.
Yeah, I think he's a good coach. I think I would need more perspective on him in order to. I think Dan Campbell has done more with less,
I'm not sure more. Dan doesn't have a ring. He hasn't gotten a Super Bowl twice.
Never had Matt.
So I wouldn't say he's done more with less. I'm just saying I would say Dan Campbell's done a lot.
Sure.
Yeah. Dan is on this list, by the way.
Well,
he's lower than I would put him at.
He's already lower than what I would put him at.
So. I would put him in the top 5. I would put John Harbaugh, who's next. So my top 3 would be Harbaugh, McVay, and Andy Reid. After that, I'm not exactly sure. Oops, scrolled a little too fast. Spoiler alert. But John Harbaugh, a couple Super Bowl appearances.
How is this list different than just the top coaches in the NFL?
Well, that's what this is, ranking top returning head coaches. So this is
why do they have to be returning? I mean, I don't know. That's the part that I think is weird.
I'm not sure, unless it's the whole Bill Belichick, he's not coming back thing. So that's why he's not on here.
So all we're really doing is excluding Aaron Glenn can't be on this list. What is Ben Johnson can't be on this list. Those guys can't make it, right?
Right. I would assume that is accurate.
But they might be better coaches having never coached an NFL game than some coaches that are currently the head coaches of other NFL franchises. I don't know.
I would assume that as well.
This is fine.
Coach, you don't know, right? Until you get a year in.
PFF seems to be doing this stuff more and more, and it's starting to really irk me. I like John Harbaugh. It's not. Yeah. I kind of feel about the Ravens the way that you do about the Rams. Yeah. If I'm not going to root for the Lions, I'm going to root for the Ravens. If they're not playing the Lions. So I like the Harbaugh.
A lot. They're my AFC team.
I'm a huge fan of the brand of football that both of the Harbaughs coach, and like I'm obviously a Michigan fan, so like the Ravens and the Wolverines have shared coaches back and forth on their rosters several times. So like I have a familiarity with not only John Harbaugh but also the coaches that have been on his staff. I've paid attention to them. Like now we have Mike McDonald as the head coach in Seattle. That's a part of the Harbaugh tree. And
Jim or John?
John. Technically, John. He went from Jim to 1 year as the DC with John to the head coaching opportunity in Seattle. But c'est la vie. So, I respect the Ravens. I like John Harbaugh. I like watching the style of football that he puts on television. I love Lamar Jackson. He's like my style of quarterback. Just watching him play is fun. So yeah, I'm fine with him at this spot.
Yeah. All right, number 5, Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm mixed on this.
Yeah, I find myself conflicted too because okay, so the guy has never missed the playoffs or just missed last year. Is that accurate? And he's
never missed the playoffs with Pittsburgh.
I believe that he is the longest tenured head coach in the NFL.
Currently, I believe that is accurate.
So it's hard not to respect those things.
Yeah.
Here's the things. So number one, he stood on the sidelines years ago during a kick return or a punt return, and was quote unquote not looking at the field of play and like accidentally like ran into the kick returner on his way to scoring a touchdown. And if you watch that play, there's no one else even in the white painted area.
Yeah. And he steps back into it.
Like to me, like that is something that every time I watch it, I scratch my head and I'm just like, is that bullshit? Like, I don't know. It feels like bullshit to me. So that's like a little black mark against him. But in an otherwise illustrious career, like the dude is apparently an excellent manager of not only personalities, but of men and kids, but at the same time, and maybe this wasn't his choice, what is this season going to look like with Aaron Rodgers? Those are two immense personalities, and Aaron's not going to have his way.
You guys can only listen to one of them, right?
Right. And like if they're, I don't think, we're talking about almost all of the guys in that locker room have been with Tomlin their whole careers. And so like, is Aaron Rodgers going to win over DK Metcalf and then the two newbies are going to hold out? I don't know really what that looks like, but I don't think there's a way that Aaron Rodgers can take away the locker room from Mike Tomlin, nor why would he, or would he want to? I don't know.
This is his last chance for a ring.
Right. So does Aaron Rodgers just kind of keep his head down a little bit and his mouth shut a little bit and like let Mike Tomlin steer the ship? He's not. He hasn't.
Maybe. It doesn't sound like Aaron Rodgers.
Green Bay and in New York. So
yeah. So like the reason why I'm a little iffy on Mike Tomlin is like you can't overlook the fact that he's made the playoffs something like 17 straight years or however long he's been in Pittsburgh. It's a lot of years. It's in the teens, right? And he's made the playoffs every single year. I believe he's got a Super Bowl back when they had Big Ben. But the thing is, are they underperforming? Because they haven't gotten anywhere in the playoffs in years and years and years. But they always get there. Like, so is he the reason they get there? Are they like a mediocre team, but he gets them up a level to make the playoffs? But the team's just not good enough to go or win a Super Bowl? Or is he actually holding the team back? Like, it's a good team, but he's just like, man, I can't quite get over the hump. I did when I had a Hall of Fame quarterback, but now that I don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame running back, and Jerome Bettis, like now that I've got to do more work on the coaching side, like, am I just not good enough? So I can't tell if he's underperforming or overperforming. But like you've talked to a few times about getting into the playoffs and in and out, no wins, like you just get there. That is a recipe for mediocrity forever because you never get the high enough draft pick to get out of that, but you're always kind of there. So, and I don't know if he's just stuck in that loop of mediocrity, and whether that's again, is he underperforming or overperforming? I got nothing.
If you told me that the Lions could be in the playoffs for the next 15 years, but you couldn't guarantee
never win a Super Bowl. Yeah.
I mean, like if you couldn't guarantee me a Super Bowl, but like you get to go and have a chance at it for the next 15 years, I'd take it. But like it's not realistic to say that or that we would be guaranteed a Super Bowl, right? But like I believe the fact that Mike Tomlin has been there as long as he has demonstrates, I think, maybe the number one thing in roster building that never gets talked about, and that's continuity.
Yeah.
And like the front office from the owners down to the head coaches through his coaching staff have continuity. And with that, you do not have to have these like pivots that like Jacksonville or Indianapolis or Washington or whoever else, most every other team in the NFL has had. There's only a handful of teams in the NFL that ever have this kind of continuity, and Pittsburgh has it. So I think they're on the right track, and you have to give Tomlin credit for that.
Yeah,
because he's a major part.
The one thing that always is curious to me, you hear about like the Sean McVay coaching tree, the Andy Reid coaching tree. Kyle Shanahan has one. He's also on this list at some point. Why is there not a Mike Tomlin coaching tree? You just don't see a ton of is he not building? Is that why they don't go anywhere in the playoffs? Is because they're coaching and they're just not quite there?
Well,
I've just never heard of a Mike Tomlin coaching tree anywhere.
So he has had two coordinators, both defensive coordinators, that I want to talk about. One was Dick LeBeau, who was when they were doing that 3-4, like does a hide your blitz package or whatever that he made famous. That was in Pittsburgh, right? And so Dick LeBeau just never wanted to be a head coach. He only ever wanted to be a defensive coordinator. And like after Pittsburgh, where he coached for like a ridiculous number of years, he went to like one other team for like 2 seasons and was like, I'll just retire. And he was like deep into his retirement years, like he could have, So I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is like Brian Flores, I believe, was a coordinator in Pittsburgh for a while or a minute or something like that. And like the only thing preventing Brian Flores from getting a head coaching job in the NFL, in my opinion, is Brian Flores, because he appears to not be able to work with anybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the coordinator, maybe they're just happy to stay in Pittsburgh, or like what they're doing in Pittsburgh doesn't recommend them for a higher position somewhere else, or they don't get a chance. Like, so in Detroit, we like in the first, like the second year of this administration or front office, you get the Lions coaching staff coach the Senior Bowl, one side of the Senior Bowl. And Dan was like, go ahead, Ben, you're up, or whatever. And like when they have an opportunity, they find a way to develop coordinators. Like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were developed by the Detroit Lions coaching staff and front office. And it does not appear that Pittsburgh is as active doing that as maybe some other franchises in the NFL. So, and maybe more of it is just Mike Tomlin than it is a Ben Johnson or an Aaron Glenn and like their impact in Detroit. Like, and I want to talk about the point that Brian has made here in a second, because I think it's excellent. But like
Yeah, and I'm doing some Google Foo while you're talking on coaching trees, and I've got Andy Reid's coaching tree has John Harbaugh, Doug Peterson, Todd Bowles, Sean McDermott as head coaches, Brad Childress, Leslie Frazier, Spagnuolo, Ron Rivera, Pat Shermer, David Culley, and Matt Nagy, all under his tree. He's got a wide coaching tree. Kyle Shanahan has Mike McDaniel, Robert Saleh, and D'Amico Ryans under him. McVay has Zach Taylor, Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, and Brandon Staley. Peyton has Dennis Allen, Dan Campbell, Doug Marrone, and Mark Trestman. And they don't I'm not finding him at all on this list. So I went to another Steelers website. This was back in 2023. And don't forget, he's been there for like 15 years. But in 2023, the article is like, Mike Tomlin might have the first real branch of an actual coaching tree. And I'm like, so it's not just us. He just doesn't really have. And it was actually talking about defensive backs coach Grady Brown might be that tree, that first branch. And I'm like, I've still never heard of him 2 years later. So I don't know. And maybe that's part of what Mike Tomlin is. Maybe people that just don't want to leave Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. So maybe he could have a tree if people wanted to leave, but they respect him enough that they want to just stick around.
Without firsthand knowledge of what's going on there.
Dr. D, Cincinnati's Detroit from the 90s.
I'd
say the 2000s.
Let's say unfortunate. Brian says, should we judge coaches differently if they are a play caller versus the CEO types? McVay and Reid are offensive geniuses, and Tomlin, Harbaugh, Vrabel, MCDC are all CEOs. I think real quickly, I think that the way that I come down on this is that the play callers get more attention. And like Campbell is clearly not a play caller, but he is a hype man. And so he came in with a bunch of attention. So, but like Mike Tomlin, I don't know that people would talk about Mike Tomlin because he is, first of all, he's pretty fucking abrasive and when he's getting interviewed. I mean, like he's downright mean to reporters, even if
nearly Bill Belichick-esque.
Yes. I mean, like he is quote unquote grumpy, right? I don't really mind it because I think that having a job where that would be part of it would be awful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if you win, that solves a lot of problems, right? And those kind of things. One of the things from in hockey, Montreal Canadiens went on a tear in the 70s, won something like 5 Stanley Cups in 7 years or something. Maybe it was 7 and 9. They were a dynasty throughout the 70s. Scotty Bowman was their coach. And one of the things and he was very well known to be abrasive, never smiled behind the bench, but he was a genius. To me, probably the best coach in any sport. But like one of the things that his players said was, yeah, I hated that guy 364 days a year. And on that 365th day, we got our ring, right? Like winning solves some of that grumpiness and, those kind of attitudes. So, and getting into the playoffs, while I think he's only got 1 Super Bowl, getting in the playoffs every year kind of solves some of that at least for the players, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, if you were a player, if you were like an agent and been like, well, I can get you to a team where you're going to start right away and maybe have a chance to be, who knows how good you can be. Or you can go to the playoffs every year. Who knows how many rings you might win? Like, I think it would depend on the personality of the person you're talking to in order to say, like, because people are different. But like, I think there's something to Mike Tomlin. We've talked about him way too long. But like, I tend to think that the CEO types are the ones who engender more winning. Because someone can solve your play style, your play calling. Like, but if you're managing people well, that's the quality in a head coach that I think goes under the radar, both in the NFL and for people like us.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving because I have one other thing that I wanted to talk about. We'll go through the last ones here. They've got Jim Harbaugh at number 6. I'm not a big Jim Harbaugh fan. I'm more of a John Harbaugh fan. But he won a national championship in Michigan. He got to the Super Bowl in San Francisco, and I'll be curious to see what he does with the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert is a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the NFL, even though, much like most of Stafford's career, at least all of his career in Detroit, he didn't have the wins or the playoff appearances and performances to show it. I think that Herbert is a special young kid, so I'll be really curious to see what he does in Los Angeles with the Chargers.
Yeah, I feel a little bit the same about this that I do about Sean Payton. Like, I don't know how you can be the 6th most important returning head coach in the NFL in year 2 and you haven't done anything yet with this team. I mean, like,
and that's why the rookie head coaches are not on this list, right?
Right. But like, I mean, they made improvements under him in year 1, you know.
Yep.
But like, I don't know that I would draft Justin Herbert in a fantasy league. Like, Jim Harbaugh usually has his quarterbacks hand the ball off a lot and make real easy throws. Like, and Herbert might be special, but I mean, we might never know or get to see it with Jim Harbaugh. They might win a lot more, but it may not be because Justin Herbert is like, Jim is allowing him to shine through, like he wants to play good defense, run the ball, don't make mistakes, and like that kind of thing. Yeah, that works for golf. It's true. So I don't know. 6 is too high.
I agree. I think he's probably top 10, but I think he's at the back end of the list based on history and potential. And I can't stand him. I'd love to put him at 32, but I also have to respect what he's done. They got Kyle Shanahan at 7.
This is the most overrated coach in the NFL. This is the most overrated coach in the NFL. Kyle Shanahan is just...
He definitely his teams do not perform in big moments.
So he had a stretch, like a 6-year stretch, where San Francisco went to the NFC Championship game every other year. Yeah. It was championship game, miss the playoffs, championship game, miss the playoffs, championship game, miss the playoffs, or whatever. Something like that. And okay, neat. And he is widely regarded as a quarterback guru, but this is an offensive coordinator who is sitting in a head coach's chair. And I'm like, I don't know how you convinced anybody to make you a head coach, because I think that he has made San Francisco better. And the whole reason I think that is because look at who his quarterbacks have been, and then look at the records on those teams. And I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, he is able to get more out of the average quarterback than almost anybody and maybe anybody else in the NFL, and that is it. So like,
you might be a quarterback whisperer, but you got 52 other guys on the team that you have to get going.
So I mean, I would love to have him as an offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach, and maybe have a CEO as my head coach. So, but I don't think this is ridiculous. I mean, they're in line for an absolutely terrible season, and so
here's the crazy thing: I totally agree, and Vegas actually has them as the odds-on favorite to win their division.
Oh my God, I got to get some money in my DraftKings account, because I will bet the under against that hard.
I'm not sure they're gonna. I'm not sure they're going to be second.
I would be
third in their division.
I would bet that they would be last. I would bet
depending on health. If they stay healthy, I think they're good enough to be in third over Arizona. But if they have anybody hurt of any quality, I don't think they can.
I think Kyler Murray is a better version of at least a more athletic version of Brock Purdy. But like, Brock Purdy just doesn't make as many mistakes. And like, I don't know. I think they're going to come in fourth in that division. It might be on tiebreakers, but I think they're going to come in last.
I'd love to see that, to be honest. Nick Sirianni, the Super Bowl winning coach, they win the Super Bowl and he makes the top 10, but only at 8. I figured he would probably be a little bit higher.
I don't get it. This should be the number 2 to me, like guy. Like you just won the Super Bowl. You're not the second most important returning head coach in the NFL. What the fuck?
This isn't about importance. It's about best.
Sure. He just won a Super Bowl. So, I mean, like.
Yeah, I think this is criminally low at 8. I think
if we've got it coming or going, I don't understand how it's fucking 8. This is why PFF makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, his roster won the Super Bowl, but I mean, you can say the same thing about Andy Reid. I mean, like Andy Reid's roster. I mean, he wasn't out there playing, and like Sirianni managed his roster well enough to win a Super Bowl. I mean, I think that mattered.
Yeah, and they were blessed with health, but
it does help. Always helps.
And this is the other one that I think is criminally underrated. Dan Campbell. I think he's closer to that 5 range than the 9 range. I think this is a slap in the face based on what he's done the last couple. I mean, he took over a team that was a 3-win team and just self-destructing because of management. And he comes in with Brad Holmes, and they were 3-11-1 or whatever, 3-13-1 the first season. But they were rebuilding that roster. And then we went to, was it 9 wins the second year, and then 15 wins like this past year, and the number 1 overall in the NFC. I don't understand how this is at 9.
I think it went 3-9, 12, 15, right? So, is there any more write up to this after the second paragraph?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Stefanski from the Browns, spoiler alert, is 10. But no, this is all that it's got from Kevin Stefanski.
The fucking Browns should be on 0 lists. Kevin Stefanski is going to get fired this year because they are not going to keep their quarterback. Any of the quarterbacks that are on their roster, I don't know, will be on their roster next year. And then when they draft or trade for a quarterback this upcoming offseason, they will fire him.
They just drafted 2 quarterbacks, Shedeur Sanders and the other guy. I think they're going to have those guys as their quarterbacks for the next couple of years. I'm not saying that they're going to be great quarterbacks, but I just think that they're going to be committed to them for the next couple of years.
I'll put money right now that neither one of those 2 guys is the day 1 starter at a year from the start of this season.
Really? To start the 26-27 season?
They are going to be so bad. And that division that they're in, and they have to play an AFC schedule, even if it's the fourth place divisional schedule, they're going to be awful. Like, who can they beat? And I mean, they paid Garrett, but the JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, one of their better linebackers, might have his career be ended because of a neck injury. And like, they have Mason Graham and they have a couple other guys, I guess, but like, how can they win any games with their offense? So like, they're going to be in a position to draft a quarterback of the future, and none of the guys on their roster are going to be like, oh, but we have Dylan Gabriel, we have Shedeur Sanders. Those guys aren't going to keep you from a Drew Aller or like a what's the guy's name, Lenoris Sellers or somebody like that. You are telling me that Kevin is 1 spot below Dan? Explain this to me. I can't. This is bad. So I would have Dan at like 3 because like he is a guy that has changed the culture of a team that was a perpetual loser, and no one believed in them. And like, you're bringing back that guy in a season where he lost both of his highly touted coordinators to head coaching jobs in other teams. So if there's anyone who's going to be more important to return as a head coach to these teams, I don't know that you can get much higher than Dan Campbell, because we're going to learn this year whether or not it's like, was he just surrounded by excellent, people on his staff, or
we'll see.
Does he make other people on his staff excellent? right? And if it's
I
the
think it's the
latter,
latter.
then he's a top 3 coach in the NFL.
Yeah. I think he's a lot like Andy Reid and Sean McVay in that he builds leaders across his coaching staff, which is why if you look at the replacements, a lot of those were in house, right? Like our
Yeah.
defensive coordinator, we didn't hire from outside; we got Shep from inside. Like he is a leader creating factory, in his coaching staff, which I think is why he is a top 5 coach in the NFL.
And Morton was on the staff like in 2022 or 2023. So it's not like he is a completely foreign outside. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like this group is tending to stick with guys they know, whether or not they've been. How can you have a long tenure in Detroit?
Yeah.
Like there's just not possible. I mean, like they are too early into their quote unquote being good phase, hot Detroit Lions girl summer phase or whatever, like in order to like have that kind of history. And that's, I think, I mean, I want a Super Bowl really badly, but I think almost as important is the Lions have to shatter. I mean, even if like, let's say they become a mediocre team again, like they're 500. Everybody who was so high on them for like the last 3 years will be like, oh, same old Lions. That will come back immediately if this team doesn't keep winning double digits, getting divisional titles, making the playoffs, racking up at least some playoff wins, a Super Bowl visit or whatever. Like this team has to shatter the like PTSD of their fan base.
Yes.
And really become like a multi-year good top of the division team in a division that is tough.
Yeah.
So
well,
this isn't
like Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, right? And Bill Belichick in New England and LA, and Andy Reid, the guys that we would put at the top of our list. That's what they've built in their organizations. Continuity, but also a culture of winning.
Right. That's immensely important. And like Dr. Detroit says here, but 9 is ridiculous to me.
Yes.
Anytime you see anything about a Detroit Lions anything and it's less than what you think, just don't pay any attention to it. Because I mean,
especially at this time of the off season.
Right. Mike and I can start a website and post a list. And like what does it matter? It doesn't, just because it's PFF, it doesn't mean that it's Moses carving like words from God in stone. Like it's, I mean, I respect the data. I just don't like the content that they're creating right now. So like, it's not, I mean, like, and I think, I'm a fan and I have to acknowledge my bias, but I also have a hard time, like if you wanted to tell me like Kirby Joseph is the best safety in the NFL, I have a hard time naming a better safety right now, like that kind of thing. Like, is it Kyle Hamilton? Maybe, probably. I think non-Detroit fans would probably say Kyle Hamilton. But if you said who has the best safety pairing in the NFL, if you don't pick Detroit, you're fucking lying. Like you're just wrong, right? You're just wrong. You're just wrong about that one because there's no one else. You know what? The Packers are the team that I think might have the second best safety duo with Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams. And Evan Williams was a rookie last year and got hurt. Like they might have legit safety chops. Who knows? Yeah. But I don't know. Just take it with a grain of salt. Don't let it drag you down.
Right on. All right. So the last thing I wanted to do, there's not a ton to talk about during the off season. No. So this one is from NFL.com, and it is ranking each division by quarterback heading into the 2025 NFL season. So essentially what they're doing is grouping, they're taking and I don't know if it's based on PFF grades or if they're doing, if they've ranked the quarterbacks 1 to 32. themselves and gave them points or whatever. But essentially what they're doing is going, all right, everybody in this division is average score type of thing. So they start with the worst division, and then that'll kind of explain kind of what they're doing. So AFC South, the average quarterback rank is 26.5. So they got CJ Stroud as the number 15 quarterback. The Colts have Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, number 35 and number 37. So their average 36. Trevor Lawrence is the 26th best quarterback in theirs. And then Cam Ward at 29. So average, they're at 26.5. So they've got the worst quarterback division in the NFL per NFL.com. So that's kind of how they're doing things. So I don't know if you want to roll through these and then talk about them as a whole, as we can just scroll through them, or if we want to do it like coaches where we go from 8 to 7 to 6.
Let's talk about it a division at a time, okay?
Okay.
I like CJ Stroud. I think that's pretty accurate. Cam Ward, Anthony Richardson, and Daniel Jones, they should all be near the bottom. We could argue about Trevor Lawrence. 26 is ridiculous to me.
He's, to me, somewhere between 16 and 21, depending on the day.
That's better. I mean, like, that's obviously the numbers are lower, so it makes it better. But, like, he has been stuck in, like, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I mean,
nothing around him.
Take anybody and put him there and with what he's had to deal with and see where they come out. You know, like, I know I can make that argument for lots and lots of guys, but, like, I think it's legit. I mean, like, you don't control where you get drafted, and that has been a shithole as far as, like, good NFL quality, whatever you want to say next.
Right.
So, like, I think that a dude, I watched him play in college, and I know college is different than the NFL, but, like, if you anybody who watched him in college would be like, oh, he's probably going to be successful in the NFL, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah, he was generational.
That term is used a little bit too loosely, but
I agree.
I also don't know how you have a chance to demonstrate who has been the last truly exceptional quarterback on an awful team.
Jaden Daniels last year. Oh, no, on an awful team?
Like a Jacksonville level, like give me like a great quarterback playing great on like a roster that's like fucking Cleveland. Like who are those guys?
The Colts, after Andrew Luck, the Colts had a real down couple years, and he was, and I'd say before that it was probably Stafford. Like most exceptional quarterbacks end up having good people around them.
Yeah, that's the point, right? Like, if you get the good quarterback, it should not be as difficult to find the other pieces to put around the quarterback. Yeah. And like Jacksonville refuses to do it. Even now, like they took Travis Hunter, and like, you know, he had better help. You know,
yeah,
he's probably their number 2 wide receiver. So I mean, all right, what's the next division?
AFC South is 8.
NFC South is next.
NFC South is next. Atlanta Falcons. Michael Penix Jr. is 30th.
Oh my God!
Bryce Young at 16. That's Tyler Shuff at 29. And Baker Mayfield they have as number 6.
There's no way that Bryce Young should be 16. That's whoever's doing this. I just lost so much respect for them. Like,
do you think he's higher or lower?
He's definitely lower.
Okay, because like most of his career, definitely, but the last 6, 8, 9 games last year, he actually turned it around a bit.
Right.
I would put him in that 20 to 25. Yeah.
You know,
recency bias.
He is being ranked as a middle of the tier NFL quarterback based on however many games he played after he got benched and came back. Right.
Yeah.
Fine. He played well. He didn't have a lot to work with. That kind of answered the thing that I just said. But he's not that good. I'm not taking him.
You can't put Trevor Lawrence at 29.
You're going to tell me
for the same reason
10 fucking spots out of Trevor Lawrence?
Right. Well, and that's the point, right? Well, Trevor Lawrence doesn't have anybody around him, and because of that, his play is bad. So we're going to drop him at 29, and then you're going to ignore like the bad play by Bryce Young, and then move him up because the team around him sucks. But so and he's better than what he's actually showing. You can't do both of those things, right?
I also think that Tyler Schaff, a rookie, being one spot better than Michael Penix is ridiculous because Michael Penix did not have a wow me however many games that he played last season. But in the games that he played last season, if you extrapolated out what he was doing over a full season, he would have finished that season with more big time throws than anybody in the history of the NFL in a season. And like big time throws are not touchdowns. They are not a stat that we establish like the greatness of quarterbacks by, but it is the path that Josh Allen followed to become a star.
Yep.
Is that he would throw a pick and then he would make a big time throw. And then when he got rid of when he dropped the picks down to an acceptable level, fucking mega stardom, right? If Michael Penix is already making the big time throws and learns to drop out the picks, they have the best quarterback in the division and it's not close. Yep. Also, I like Baker Mayfield, but 6 is ridiculous.
Yeah, to me, he is more 10, 12-ish.
These rankings have to be based on some kind of in-house metric they've come up with.
I'm assuming so as well.
All right.
You know, somewhere in here he talks about says wildly unfair to rank Schaff a second-round pick who enters the league with less juice than most quarterbacks in line to start as rookies. One place ahead of Penix, former first-rounder who showed enough in his limited starts last season to convince the Falcons to move forward with him. But that's just one of the quirks of the way I accounted for low-experienced players here. So to me, the way I accounted, clearly this is whoever wrote this, it's their ranking. So he's, you know, to your point, he came up with some sort of thing that ranked that where he ranked this by, and maybe it's just gut, maybe it's just opinion, but it is not. I mean, it's not based on say PFF ranking or QBR. All right, so after the NFC South,
I don't have a guess, but those two are the worst for sure. Wow, really, dude? No way. No
so a couple things that stick out here. I think this is absurd. Like, I love Goff's our quarterback. He is QB1 for the Detroit Lions, and I hope he leads us to a Super Bowl. He is not the fourth best quarterback in the NFL.
So you're telling me, okay, so J.J. McCarthy has the same ranking as Tyler Schaff. So effectively they're quarterbacks who have never played in the NFL. There has to be like a 4 or 5 way tie for number 29. This cannot be based on any kind of opinion. This has to be a metric because there's no way that Caleb Williams is 28th in the NFL. Like, I don't get it. So Jared Goff at 4 is high. Jordan Love at 10 is also high. And then the other two guys are too low, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, this is just unbelievable extremes, in my opinion. So, like, yeah. Okay. So, first of all, I would think that the NFC North, as far as quarterback play, is a top half of the NFL. This is I'm glad that you picked. I think
this does drop it. I think this does drop it. JJ's a rookie, and you're going to, until he steps foot on the field for a meaningful game and plays, you know, actual reps, you don't know where he's going to end up. So I get that being a grade for a ranking for him. I think this is criminally low. I wouldn't put him top 10, but I'd put him in that like 16 to 22 range.
You're telling me that the NFC East is better than this? Fuck that.
I have not gotten, as I scrolled through this, I saw this at 6. I'm like, oh, we got to talk about this. I did not get past this, so I don't know where they're at. But like, hey, cool. I love that someone's thinking Goff's the number 4 quarterback, and I hope he plays like it. He hasn't yet. He's played well, but he has not played like a fourth best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, it can't be that, right?
Yeah.
So,
blah blah blah. All right, so AFC North is 5. So just the average ranking 17.75.
This is dumb.
Up, it's 20.25 for the NFC South. So they're averaging these numbers here, right?
Right.
To get that. So AFC North is next. Lamar, Joe, whoever Cleveland ends up doing, and Aaron Rodgers.
I think the fact that like you can have the number 1 and the number 3 quarterback in the same division and rank it the 5th best division is nuts. Like if you were going to look at that when you're making this list, you have to say like the way that we're making this list is wrong.
So you've got like Kenny Pickett at 47, Joe Flacco at 40. To me, you got to go 1 to 32, right? And they may be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, whichever one, but you should be at 32 at the very worst. So to go, well, they're actually worse than other backups. I'm not a fan of the way that they're doing this because I think it totally skews the numbers. To your point,
this should be the first or second best division for quarterback play in the NFL based solely off of the first 2 guys. Like the only other argument for me really is Mahomes and Herbert.
So if they went 32 for the Cleveland Browns, to say they're the 32nd best quarterback, whoever you're going to put out there, like the worst starting, their average points would be 14.5.
I'll bet that makes
rocket them up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would actually pop these two in the opposite.
I know you would. The ranking they have is correct. It's the first right thing they've done so far.
All right, next up, AFC East. Josh Allen at 2, Tua at 18, Justin Fields at 27, and Drake May at 21. I feel like this is a little high.
I guess I don't really have a problem with any of the rankings. Top to bottom, if you told me my team, whoever my team is, had to play the AFC East, I'd be like, oh, we got to worry about Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the end of list, right?
End of list.
People you have to worry about.
Right.
But if you go back up and do we got to pay up the AFC North, they're like, oh, crap, we got Lamar Jackson, we got Joe Burrow. Yeah. And hell, Aaron Rodgers, much as we hate him, actually played pretty well last year.
Yeah.
So, he wasn't terrible. He didn't take a right. He didn't do a Russell Wilson dive where he just went from performing well to performing kind of terribly. So I would be more worried about playing Burrow, Jackson, and Rodgers than I would be Allen and whoever else is in the East.
The NFC East got to be next.
So note that it was 14.5 if they didn't screw up the Cleveland Browns. So let's see where they would. So they would fit at 4 because the NFC East is at 14.0.
I don't have a problem with any of the rankings here.
You put Jaden Daniels at number 5 after 1 year?
Based on the way that he played last year, I would not be surprised if he was ranked the 5th best quarterback in the NFL last year.
Well, for this year, going into this year. That's what this is.
If he plays the way this year, the way that he played the way last year, then 5 is... I mean, think about who he's competing with, right? 5 is you're as high as you can go without beating Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, right? You're in that discussion. So, if he plays the way he did, and I don't see a reason why he won't, So
I don't either, but also look at what CJ Stroud did, who had almost a historically good rookie season as well, one rookie of the year, and had a big drop off year two. Now, granted, the team he has battled some injuries and whatnot, but like I think one great year as a rookie to me doesn't put you there yet. If he has another one, let's talk about him being top 10. I think he's the potential to be the number 5 overall, but 1 year does not put him there for me yet. So we'll see what he does this year.
Well, I guess I'll just take the opposite side of that same fence and be like, he hasn't had a bad year yet, so I don't know why I'd bet against him.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I still think I mean that's just Jalen Hurts at 9 is high. Like I understand the team did well, but he is a game manager. I mean, like he is a more athletic version. He's more athletic in the run game than Jared Goff is, and Jared Goff is a better passer than he is. But I think that I would pick Jalen Hurts for his ability to affect the game.
Yeah.
But like Goff, unless you're in the playoffs, he doesn't turn the ball over, so.
All right.
The AFC West is now. Oh, thank God.
The NFC West: Kyler Murray at 17, Stafford at 8, Brock Purdy at 14, and Sam Darnold at 13.
So
I think these two are both high.
So Sam Darnold, to me, Sam Darnold is high.
Yeah.
Because it's his whole career boiled down into
last year.
16 games last year, and he was horrific in the last 2.
Yeah.
I don't mind Kyler being there, although I think he's probably better than 17th. I don't have any problem with Stafford. I don't mind Brock Purdy being there, and I can see him being higher because as far as like offensive EVOA, he's the most efficient quarterback in the NFL since he's played. Like over 3 years.
Yeah.
He's ranked first in that category. And so, I mean, like, if you want to give that up to Kyle Shanahan, I mean, he's the one in there calling, like running the plays and throwing the ball. I am fine with Brock Purdy being there, averaging out his efficiency versus his athleticism and overall talent.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if I made a list, I think 14's fine. But 13,
I think he's in that group, right? And to me, you're in a tier of like you could be on a good day, you could be up to here. On a bad day, you could be there. And I think Brock Purdy falls in that same like he could be anywhere from like 10 or 11 all the way back to 18 or 19. And cut the difference, 14 seems right in the middle of that range.
It does, yeah.
Right, but I think Darnold. I think this is high. I don't believe in Darnold. He had 1 year, 16 good games. He needs to put together another one before I believe that he's a top half starting quarterback.
I'm completely convinced that last year is a total fucking fluke, and like he should have stayed in Minnesota. And the only reason he didn't is because they spent like the 10th overall pick on JJ McCarthy the year before. Yep. So
he's Matt Flynn.
Right.
Matt Flynn had 1 great game at the end of the season against us when Aaron Rodgers was hurt, and he signed a huge contract, ironically, with Seattle before they drafted Russell Wilson, and he never really got to start.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like, I think that Seattle kind of has this method to
the number 1 graded quarterback group was the AFC West. Their average ranking was 12.5. Bo Nix at 20. Mahomes at 7, which seems low to me. Geno Smith at 12, which seems high to me. Justin Herbert at 11, which seems low to me. I think overall this is the right number 1. And I think number 2 to me is AFC East with Lamar and Burrow. But what are your thoughts on some of these rankings?
Can you scroll down past the advertisement, please? Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I think Mahomes and Herbert should be closer to like Jackson and Burrow as far as their rankings.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see all the quarterbacks just listed by ranking, not in their divisions, just 1 to 32 or whatever.
I'll see if there's.
I think that's pretty close. You don't like Geno Smith, and I get it, but like if you went back and watched the games that he just plays against the Lions, I would have to think that your opinion of him would improve. He's nothing special, but like I think that he is
that tier of like 12 to 19. He could be anywhere into like maybe 10 to 19 or something. To me, he's Sam Darnold, but a little bit better than Sam Darnold.
And so to me, I think that he's closer to like the Goff range. It's just that he's been asked to do different things because like he has an arm that allows him to push the ball down the field. Mm-hmm. And so they did because they had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and they didn't have intermediate over the middle of the field, mercenaries like Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like they built that offense to do what he was good at, but what he's good at is more difficult than what Jared Goff does. And so like I also like the way that he affects the game with his legs. But I also think that like maybe that is the top of his range. And so like I don't understand why some of the quarterbacks on this list are as low as they are, and I don't understand why some of the players on this list are as high as they are. Like he seems to be the top of his range. There's no way that I would put Jared Goff at 4.
Right.
There's no way. He's never finished 4th. Yeah, like he's never finished 4th.
Yeah, so this was ranking all 59 NFL starting quarterbacks from 2024. So link in the chat for anybody that wants to see what their overall in order ranking was. Obviously, we went through them, by division, which doesn't give you a straight like 1, then 2, then 3 kind of thing. But I mean, to me, Mahomes is top 4, not number 7. Bo Nix, he had a great year. I would put him closer to 16 than 20. But I'd also put Geno Smith a little somewhere between 12 and 16. Justin Herbert, I would put probably around 5. Like I'm very high on him, even though his team hasn't had the success. He's played incredibly well. Anyway, I thought this was a fun and interesting one to talk about since there's really not a ton going on in the off season. So,
maybe what we could do for next week is re-rank these players and how we would do it.
I like that. Throw that in our Discord so we don't forget.
Yeah. Because there's not been a ton going on, it's easy to forget.
It is.
And we've each had quite a lot going on. So there's that as well. So I know we're out of time and we're not going to do it this week, but Brian goes mock draft with a laugh face. I did one while you were gone. I would like to do one with you at some point here during the summer. To just start seeing names and where they're from, that kind of thing. Not to basically say like this is who the Lions are going to take or whatever, like when it comes to next April. So,
hey Drew, before we bust out of here, do you mind if I give a shout out to our treasure hunt stuff that me and some friends are doing?
I don't mind. So Mike has started a company with friends who are not me because I have no money. And Mike, your company does something. Is it geocaching?
It's similar to that. It's called Cloak's Treasure. So it's basically treasure hunt. So think of National Treasure meets The Goonies meets Outer Banks kind of thing. A little bit more National Treasury, where one clue leads to another thing, which is another clue that leads to another thing. But for us, each clue is a prize. So like when you solve it, the first person that solves it wins a prize. Each of the prizes start out at $1,000. The final prize, kind of the 10th stage, it's a 10-part thing. Is starting out at $20,000 for the prize, which is pretty cool. One of the biggest ones in the whole treasure hunting, I guess, industry, if there is such a thing. And the cool thing is, like half of the registration fees. Right now, it's only $20 to register, and it registers you for all 10, basically every phase of the hunt. It's one big hunt with 10 different stages. So one registration gets you into all of the different stages. It's $20. Half of the registration actually goes into the prize pool. So that's when I say it starts out at $1,000. As we get more registrations, those prize pools will go up. I think I forget how much the first round was, but the first stage just got solved. We just released the answer to that. So now everybody is on to stage 2. It's a lot of fun. It gets you out and about. We like doing outdoors things, and this will get you out and about in Michigan because it's beautiful in the state. It is all in Michigan. It is primarily below I-96, that kind of latitude, but there are a couple that are just above that. But it is all Lower Peninsula. And it's a ton of fun. We're excited about it. So I just threw a link into the chat. So if you are interested in getting out, solving puzzles, and wanting to do a real life national treasure, Michigan treasure, if you will, check us out. Register is a lot of fun. So appreciate you letting me pump that out there and promote that. So
yeah, I would never do it, but because I'm not that smart. But like, so let me ask you this: if I were to do it, and do I have to solve the first clue to get the second one?
Nope. So the first clue's already been solved. So if you come into it down the road, maybe you just heard about it now, and you're like, "Oh crap, I don't have an opportunity." You still have the answers from the previous one. We do post, so you do know all of the previous solves going in. So. The first one just got solved yesterday, and we posted the response to or the answer to that. So now everybody that's registered has phase 2 or that stage 2 with the answer from the first one to guide them to the second one.
Okay.
So,
because cool. Without that, I bet the list dwindles quickly. After
it's clue. So like each one will point to a next thing. And then what we've been doing is, because one of the things, are you familiar with Forrest Fenn and what he did? No. So Forrest Fenn was a guy that buried a treasure. He didn't actually bury it. It was like in a chest. And it was somewhere in the central part of the state. And he put a little poem in a book. And it was like $2 million. I don't have $2 million. So our prizes are not going to be that big. But like, he just put it in a box, gold and gems and all sorts of crap, about $2 million worth of stuff, and let it out. And people went to go look for it. And every once in a while, he would give hints. There's actually a really cool documentary on Netflix. If you search Forrest Fenn, it'll be on there. But it's a really cool documentary about that whole process. It took them 10 years, 12 years before someone actually found it. And it wasn't a thing like this where it was a company where we want to do these a bunch of times. So if we get enough registrations, we will have enough money to essentially do another one of these deals. His was not that way. He just threw $2 million of crap out into a spot in the middle of the mountains or whatever. So we kind of wanted that feel of like this long, progressive, not something you're going to solve in a day kind of thing. So each one of our phases is probably going to take a month, but each Sunday we've been releasing basically another minor hint to kind of guide people in the right direction because we don't want it to be stale, right? We don't want people to go, I just got nothing, and then give up. We want people to be interested and always having some idea of where to go next. So, like I said, every Sunday we've been releasing kind of another clue toward that stage. So it's a lot of fun. I'm excited about it, and we got quite a few registrants already, but always looking for more. And since we're a bunch of Detroit Lions fans, most of us are here in the state, so I figured this would be a perfect spot to give it a shout out.
Well, Mike, since you've done this, I also have a business venture I've started that I'd like to plug if you're okay with it.
Nope, just me.
Okay.
What's up? Yeah, no, let's do it.
Well, I have started an OnlyFans page. So let me get that link up there. And if you really want to see like the other side of who Drew is, like it's all, no, I'm of course kidding. I just wanted to see if I could get a reaction out of you, but like,
oh my gosh.
Funny
Drew's
joke.
OnlyFans, the other side of Drew, right?
Yeah. Kind of a long. I-96
kind of long,
like
but it's unforgettable.
South. I-96 is 5 hours south. Brian, where are you, man?
So that's got to be, you got to be UP?
You north of the bridge?
Only first page.
Don't judge. I mean, come and try it out. It's 30 days free, and then you got to sign up, for the monthly subscription. But it's a little bit of what everybody's into, So, Escanaba. I've been to Escanaba. Yeah. So that's a great place.
We are looking at, like, if this goes well and we get enough registrants where we can keep doing this, we are looking at expanding and doing maybe a UP one that's just in the UP. We're also looking at potentially doing some other more localized ones. Like, we're in Southwest Michigan, so maybe we'll do one in just Southwest Michigan. Maybe we'll do one in Southeast Michigan, that Detroit, Macomb, Wayne, counties, Washington, over in Ann Arbor. Just kind of maybe doing some more localized ones. We're not really sure, but it really comes down to how many people find it fun and interesting, get registered, and tell us that they want more. So,
yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, if especially if you're good at that kind of stuff, and like
it's very puzzly.
I read a book once called The Rule of Four, and it was about these two college kids that solved incredibly elaborate, like Da Vinci Code-esque level puzzles throughout history. And there's some prize that they get at the end, and I don't know, it's about finding yourself or some shit, but like but like it's like this kind of thing always feels to me like, oh, it's like that but for people who don't have like their lives dedicated to like a certain kind of subject, right? Like it's kind of like trivia played night played over a map or whatever. So yeah, it sounds like fun.
Might make sense, part with various chambers of commerce for partner sponsorship. We are working on that kind of stuff. We do have so there's a adventure racing, Michigan Adventure Racing. We have partnered with them, and I think we provided a couple free entries that they would raffle off at some of their Michigan Adventure Racing events. And so we are trying to do some of those kinds of things. So anybody that if you want to throw that link out, share it with your friends that might be interested in those types of activities, whether it's geocaching. There's a ton of really cool outdoor stuff. There's a lot of metal detecting groups and that kind of stuff that just like looking for cool treasures that we found throughout this whole thing. But throw that link out to anybody that you think might be interested. And I would love to get enough people to have us do a UP one next year. That would be pretty awesome. So, well, thanks, Drew, for indulging me. And I'll probably throw a link in at the end of our shows, just a reminder to anybody that's listening.
Yeah, you really owe me one. So we'll have to collect on that. So.
All right. Sounds good. Well, it's great talking Lions. I'm going to go get some food, and I will we'll catch everybody next Tuesday.
Brian, before we go, Brian, Mike and I have a Discord that you'll get the link to here in a moment, but it's on a Discord server that we share, and our show is on that.
Brian's already in that.
We are not super popular on Discord, but who knows? We're growing. I want to talk about Mike about that a little bit after the show. So
I think Brian, are you part of our Discord already?
He's already on the Discord, he just said.
So. Okay, that's what I thought. All right. I threw a link into the General Lions chat. Technically, it's not General Lions chat, but it didn't seem to fall into any of the categories. So I threw it there for you, buddy.
Nice.
All right. We are 90 minutes in. We will catch you guys next Tuesday. Peace.